People. I see live people. Hi, everybody. I see. Um, I am Julie Beck. I'm the assistant director here at ARA Boston. If you're feeling like the video's lagging at all, I can go to a different space. We actually don't have great internet on all of our floors. So if you have questions, if you have, feel free to add them to, I believe this is the live chat. I do have some questions that were submitted ahead of time. And so my plan for this is to give you like a basic overall feel for what the school's about. I don't know if maybe you have ever visited here or have heard about it or have questions. I plan to go over a basic overview of add questions in the live chat thing. So I hope you guys are all staying healthy and safe in your home studios, and then answer some questions. And then if there's time or if our internet holds up, try to take you on a physical tour of the building if our internet holds up to that. So who are we? We're the Academy of Realist Art Boston. We're a small, sort of medium-sized academy. And we teach the fundamentals of drawing and painting. What does that mean? Well, really, if you want to get super, super basic, we teach you how to see, which seems really simple, but that's really the basis to what we do. Is we teach you how to see, and we teach you how the fundamentals of drawing and painting, obviously in a more realist fashion or representational, meaning we're painting or drawing what we're seeing. And so that's really important for when you want to do representational work. So who can attend ARA Boston? Anybody, like seriously, anybody. It doesn't matter if you've never drawn before, if you can only draw a stick figure or not even draw a stick figure, or you are a master painter already. Yeah, so and we're serious about that. Any skill level is welcome to come here, and it doesn't matter if you're college level, it doesn't matter if you're retired. If you want to get better at drawing painting, we can help you do that. And again, we teach the technical side of learning how to draw and paint. We're not really about drawing and painting our feelings quite yet when we're first starting here, but this is really just how to draw what you're seeing and how to make it believable in terms of form, space, environment, the reality of the object on a two-dimensional surface. Okay, are we different from a regular college or art school or continuing ed class? I think actually what makes us really different is our student base. We have an incredibly supportive and encouraging community. We have people of all backgrounds and ages and experience levels, and they all have created this really wonderful, special place where they encourage each other and are supportive and are helpful and are not competitive. It's really a wonderful environment. And I think if you who are here because they want to be and because they're very passionate about what they are learning and the place here. So I think actually community sets us apart. I do encourage, if you're considering going to an atelier or an academy anywhere in the world, you're going to be learning mostly the same thing, like fundamentals of form and value and all these wonderful concepts. And I think you have to find the one that's right for you, the one that you feel. So another thing, so how are we different? I joke with people and say that we are not here to make you feel good about yourself. We are here to teach you things. And so really you're going to have a side effect of feeling better about yourself because you're going to actually be able to learn how to draw and paint in many ways the way that you probably wanted to for a while. And that's how we will help you feel good about yourself, by helping you develop the skills that you, in many cases, have been looking for a while. I know that was my personal experience. Our curriculum is not that you're learning a different thing every semester. So the format of our school is so that it's a series of consecutive assignments. So, and the fundamental concepts that you will need to create the more advanced things. And literally from day one, from Mark 1, you're going to be doing the same things that you will be doing in a more advanced way. So the curriculum, like I said, we have 2 tracks. When you look at our website and it says 2 tracks, it just means that there's the series of assignments through the figure program, and there's a series of assignments through the bargain cast program. Everybody who comes here, every place that you start, every single person, it doesn't matter your background, starts with drawing. The curriculum starts again. Everything you're doing from day one is building a whole process. So again, our curriculum is a sequential series of assignments, and I'll go through that there's only one way of doing things. What you're learning here is a set of skills. This is not the only way to learn it or to do it. It's literally that you're building a toolkit here, and that, you know, you're building a process that you can use some of the tools later on and not use other approach to learning how to train yourself to see more accurately and to be able to do the things you want to be doing. Yeah, and every assignment here, the assignments that we do within the program, I would not call them art with a capital A. They are exercises, and each project has a very specific set of skills that you're developing in that project. So when we do the red cloth, white shiny object assignment, it's not just because we think good art is made of white shiny objects and red cloth. It's because you're working with 2 different extreme value structures. Understanding Lindsay. Lindsay's been a student with us for a while, and she's just a wonderful, wonderful person. Okay, so that is kind of why we're different. This is my list that we're going over. So that's why and how we're a little bit different from maybe most schools that you've taken. Again, anybody can come and take classes here. Anybody can, doesn't matter if you've drawn before. We have lots of different classes. So now I'm going to go over the types of classes that we offer. So our main program, I call them our main program classes. And I talked about our figure track and our bargain cast track. Those are our main classes. We offer those classes in the evenings and the weekends. So if you have a full-time job, totally understandable. I was never able to come to school here full-time. I was always working. So we will always have options for part-time learners, because not everybody has the ability to go full-time, and it's important to us to keep this type of training accessible to anyone and everyone. Even if you have a regular life where you have bills to pay and families. So we always want to make sure that we offer part-time options for those people who still consider this a passion and still want to learn this. This type of training should be accessible and available. And so we do have evening, weekend, and summer classes available to people. The format of the classes. So our main program classes, again, you can take those in the evenings and the weekends as well. The format is a little bit different. We don't just teach everybody all as a big group. You know, you're not gonna be coming in and sitting at a desk with 30 other people and the teacher kind of teaching to everybody. We have usually no more than 15 students per instructor on at any given time. And a 3-hour block of time is what we call a class. So you'll be doing a 3-hour figure class or a 3-hour barg and or cast class. You come in and you pull out your project and you continue to work on that project. And at some point in that 3 hours, an instructor will come around and talk to you one-on-one to cater your next assignment with what you need to work on most. So again, this is not just a formula from start to finish. We make sure that we get to know you, your tendencies, your strengths and weaknesses, The question was, can we bring our kids if we don't have childcare? Unfortunately, we don't recommend bringing children in with you to class because there are lots of sharp objects and the floors aren't clean. That make sure that we offer classes during off hours, meaning like evenings and weekends. So again, if you can only take classes maybe Friday mornings, we have classes for you. So you don't have to just take the evening or weekend classes. You can take 1 or 2 classes throughout the week. So when you do have, he does the same assignment. We make sure that we choose, oh, you're saying there's connections freezing up. I'm gonna try to, sorry about that. I'm gonna try to do this. We're gonna take a slight diversion. I'm going to take this down to the 3rd floor where our internet. Let's see. So stay tuned. Oh shoot, all my stuff's up here. Okay, well I'll just tell you. I'll show you around the 4th floor. This is the 4th floor here. Okay. I don't have an Ethernet cable, Lindsay. I know that would be a good idea. Sorry about that. I'm going to try for just a little bit longer. And if we keep having, Lindsay, can you just pass as a format? Like I said, they're 3-hour classes and they, you will have individualized instruction throughout that time. So that means that you, at some point during those 3 hours, will meet with the instructor. And the instructor will give you a visual critique. They will talk with you about next steps. They will ensure that you have a basic understanding of where you are in the process and where you're going. They will give you demonstrations if you need it. They will. So side question, somebody asked, is there space to leave supplies? If you're taking more than 1 class with us, you do get a cubby and a drawer. So you are able to leave supplies here if you're taking more than 1 class with us. Okay, so for those classes, I'm going to try to quickly just go through what we do as a curriculum. Most people come here and say, when do I get to paint? In our main program, we usually say about 2 years, which may seem like a lot, but the fundamentals of painting are really, the foundations are in drawing. So you have to actually finish our drawing program within our main program before you're painting in our program. However, we do have what we do through the whole system thing. I did get some questions on the Instagram page. If you posted them recently, I'll check towards the end of our stream to see if there was any additional ones. So the first thing that we start with are bar drawings. The Boggs, these are bar drawings. So we actually work from the flat to start in our main track called the Boggs and Cast track. So this is a Boggs drawing, and you see how simplified it is, how graphic the light and dark pattern is. That's because we're starting to learn just basic things like mark making, shape abstraction, and accurate proportions in working large to small. So that's a level 1 drawing. People only go to what we call form. Ooh. Then we get to a level 3 drawing. These are all done in graphite, by the way. Well, this is just a printout, but when we do the actual drawings. This is level 3 drawing, so you can see much more complicated. This is the second time through all the stages and all the processes. So this is where you're rehearsing all those stages again and really nailing down the process and understanding form and value and what it means to go from complex to or level 4 Boggs drawing. This is very much more complicated and a lot harder. So this is kind of the Belvedere. This is the kind of pinnacle of Boggs drawing. And we do those in graphite, and our level of expectation for our drawings is we usually take, that's kind of hard to see because of the reflection, but we want to make sure that we have a mastery of understanding form and value. So using graphite, which is the most controlled. The time span between level 1 and level 4 drawings can vary widely. So it depends on your pace. You go through these projects at your own pace. It's not like at the end of the semester you're done. You have to have completed and shown that you understand and are capable of the skills that we're trying to get across in each project. So typically level 1 to level 4 drawing, the BARG drawings, we say takes about a year. Some people finish those in 2 terms, some people finish those in 4 terms. It depends on each person, how much work they put in outside of the class, and, you know, just basic things like, you know, how many classes you're taking a week. So if you're only taking 1 class a week, that can take a lot longer. So those are BARG drawings. So after BARG drawings, then we go to cast drawings. Okay, actually, while we're talking about BARGs and cast, somebody asked, if you got your BARG and cast at another academy, would we need to wait 2 years to start painting, or could I start sooner? Very good question. It depends. We will look at your previous works. We will talk with you and ask you about the process that you use with them. Make sure that we can be effective teachers for you, and that you can fit in terms of not having too much of an adaptation issue. So a lot of times we have a conversation. We have had people come in and not start with a level 1 BARG. We've had people come in and just do 1 BARG just to get a basic understanding of what our process is. But for the most part, people start with level 1 drawings, level 1 BARG. Angel Academy and Toronto and us, we have very similar curriculums. So it all depends, and we would have a conversation about that and see what makes. So I'm going to take you down to the 3rd floor because I think the connection might be better down there, but also we have casts down there and we can talk about that. So yes, okay. I'm going to take the computer. Hold your horse. As much as we are realist painters, we actually are all trying to do collectively an abstract piece of art with all of our leftover paints as a fun side project. So you'll get the classic ARA Boston hallway. We have 3 floors in our building. So right now I'm going down the stairs, trying not to fall and break my neck. But so our 2nd floor is also a cast hall. This is very exciting, isn't it? Studio, painting diligently. Emmy is one of our instructors. And here you can see as you come off the elevator, we have some lovely cast paintings that Emmy's done, some beautiful color studies, some drawings, a lovely cast drawing by Brittany here because I'm literally right next to the router. So here you can see this is what our 3rd floor looks like. So I'm going to do a little pivot here. So down there is our kitchen. I'll close this. Down here's our kitchen, and then we have casts all lined up and ready to be worked on. So cast drawings are once we have done our BARG drawings, which usually take about a year. Once we've done our BARG, and that is working from the casts. It's not because I think casts are that like, whoa, awesome. But what they teach you is really awesome because this is really the first time that students are working from life. Other than the figure room, obviously, we're working from life there. But casts are really amazing here in Massachusetts, and they provide us these wonderful tools which we can use to teach and learn about form. So these flat white objects with very important single light source lighting. Cast drawings are, the BARGs are great because by somebody I mean Mr. Charles Barg has already done the work for us to simplify, make things graphic, blah, blah, blah. So this guy has made the decision on how to draw something when conventional surface. So this is really, in my opinion, where the magic happens. After we do the 4 BARG drawings from the flat, which we're really learning how to see, learning how to simplify. Now we come up and work from life, from these three-dimensional casts, and we have to take those things that we learn from the flat and all of a sudden do something much more complicated and take a three-dimensional object that looks different from all these different angles and decide how to draw it. So we do chewed charcoal. So we did the Boggs and graphite. And then we do the cast in charcoal. We usually use Nitram charcoal on Roma paper. The cast drawing, and then we do 2 cast drawings, and then a third cast drawing, which is chalk and charcoal. So all the things that we've done from day one are actually leading us up to painting. So the way that we teach Boggs is we talk about painting while we're doing them because everything they're doing relates to painting. When we get to cast drawing, charcoal is a much more fluid medium. It's much more like painting. So all the things that the challenges you're having in charcoal all apply to the same challenges you're going to find in painting. So we've also added a chalk and charcoal assignment to our program, and that is taking a toned surface and using chalk and charcoal rather than just a dark medium on a white surface. We are then using the toned surface with the white chalk and the dark charcoal, much more like painting. So everything we're doing from day one, from the way we sharpen our pencils to the way that we approach simplifying, it's all because we want you to be a painter. Okay, so I would say that's the drawing program for the main track. The figure track has very similar things. They are mostly doing charcoal, and again, having to do a few charcoal figures and a chalk and charcoal figure. That is the drawing program. And you do, within our program, you do have to do those things in order to be painting in the figure room and also to be painting in the Boggs cast and still life track. It'd be nice if I had some cast drawings or actually I have some cast drawings like on the wall that I can show you. So, here's an example of a cast drawing. Actually, I think Cindy, our director, did that one. Same thing here. And it's kind of hard to see the reflection, but our cast drawing finishes, what we would call the finish, is very similar to our Boggs drawings. And, every school has their decided level of finish. And we have art more of a finish than we do. And other people have less of a finish. And there's no one right answer. This is just the way that we have decided that works best for our students. Okay, so Boggs drawing, cast drawing, at the same time doing figure if you're full-time with us. Again, everything we're doing, training you how to see. We use a very specific process, but really the underlying thing you're learning is how to see. Okay. I'm hoping, well, I'm not hoping because I can explain it. There is a difference between the way that we treat the figure and the way that we do the Boggs and casts. So the difference is with the Boggs drawing and the cast drawing, we do something called sight size. And in my personal opinion, sight size is the most magical thing that has ever been invented because it's pretty much how I do a lot of my work. Sight size is a really interesting and wonderful way to teach people how to draw and paint because it takes a lot of the complications out of things. So in the figure room, we use comparative measurement. And usually most of you have probably this whole time when you're sketching or drawing, or you're not even thinking about like measuring or anything. What you're actually doing is comparative measurement. That means you're trying to work in proportion. That means you're trying to make things look realistic in a way, but not like, any specific type of measurement. That's comparative, but we tend to have a more structured way of approaching it to ensure that you have a proportional figure. So we treat the figure drawings and paintings with comparative measurement, and our Boggs, cast, and still life are all done sight size. Now, sight size is a subset of comparative. It's just the single instance where the thing you're drawing is the exact same size as you're drawing, like in terms of when you measure it here and you measure it there, they're exactly the same measurement. That's the only difference. So that's the difference between our figure and our processes are the same, simple to complex. That's everything we do. It's every recommendation I can make, simple to complex. But we do that and we start mark making in a similar way. We go through the same breakdown of information. Our mastery of value is the same. Our mastery of color is all the same. The only difference between the two is one we use comparative measurement and the other one we use site size measurement. I'm hoping that the internet connection is better. If it is, let me know so I can feel better. Okay, so that we have our Boggs and casts in our drawing program, and then we get into cast painting. We approach cast painting in a very similar way, which is we start with a grisaille, then we add limited palette, then we go to a full palette. And that means, again, every assignment is like a new set of training wheels taken off. It's not like we're just gonna make you jump in and have to learn things on your own and have to like flail around. We have a new challenge added. All right, do all the stuff that you've been doing, but now you have to do it in paint rather than a drawing medium. And you're just doing it in black and white. So it's all value, it's all drawing, it's all transitions, but you're using paint. So that's the one difference. Then you go on to a limited palette, understanding color, and then, oh good, thank you, Julia. Glad the internet's better. Okay, so we go on to cast painting. We do 3 of those. The grisaille, the limited palette, and full palette. And then we go into, again, and that's the same thing for figure, grisaille, limited palette, full palette, but we also have a couple other figure painting assignments because we also have still life painting. So still life painting way. You're just understanding paint, mastering how to use it, understanding the indirect painting process, and repeating that 3 different times with 3 different palettes. Master that, and then we go on to still life where you get to basically use oil paint in any way. It's about exploring glazing and scumbling and working indirectly and using paint in the most maximum way that you can. Sometimes you'll use it opaquely, sometimes you'll use it transparently, but it's really about understanding the technical side of paint, why you're doing what you're doing, and a full understanding of your materials, your process, why you're doing it. You need to understand what you're doing and why. Nothing should be an accident. You should be able to repeat everything you do and understand why it's happening. That is key to being able to do anything you want to at any given time and not be restricted by your limitations. Okay, so we go to bar drawing, cast painting, and then still life painting. In the figure program, it's all pretty parallel with that. So, going through drawing the different palettes and then exploring things like warm, cool palette and also extended dry brush, which is working with glazing and scumbling to achieve different temperatures. Okay, so that's basically our main program. That's, if you're coming here and you just want to take 1 class a week, we have people working through that and have been working through that for a long time. And they're making wonderful progress. It's slow, there are still some openings, hopefully if everything starts on time. We have portrait painting classes in the evening, again, open to anybody. Work class, we have a lot of options. All of our workshops are open to people of all skill levels. So if it's taught by somebody here at the school, they are aware that anybody of any skill level is going to take their class. When we invite visiting instructors here, I make sure to, number 1, that I like them. I want them to be good teachers because that's important to me. So when I have visiting instructors, I like to make sure that, number 1, they're good instructors. Usually we'll invite people that we personally like their work. that we know them as good teachers, that they are in high demand. But also I make sure that the classes they're going to be teaching with us are open to people of all skill levels. So you don't necessarily have to be in our program to take our workshops. So we have options that are like 2-day workshops where I do like a color boot camp where people can come and just get a better process for mixing color. Eric Johnson has a skin tones workshop coming up, and we have people coming to do portrait workshops and figure workshops. If you have a workshop that you would love to see us do, please, please, please let us know, because we are always looking for new ideas of what people are looking for, and we can do our best to develop something for that. Okay, so advanced topics. I would like to say that, as much as we really teach the technical side of drawing and painting here, our more advanced students do sometimes get into more advanced topics like composition, design, concept, and the more conceptual end of works. So once people hit still life, we really start to encourage students to start thinking about narrative, start thinking about symbolism, start thinking about composition, why you're putting something in a painting, all that type of stuff. So more advanced students start to get into the more conceptual end once they're getting into still life, and they can kind of be less distracted by developing the fundamentals first. Okay, so we also have, like I said, I talked about our community before and how I think we have a really interesting and beautiful community here, and it's the students that really have created that. We do offer, periodic lectures that we'll have photographers come in and talk about photographing your artwork. We'll have conservators come in to talk about materials. We've had abstract artists really develop who they are going to be as artists outside of classes and outside of the exercises that we have them do. So, and the students have also been trailblazers in the concept of doing field trips. So recently we did do a Boston Public Library private tour, which was really fun. But now we have people talking about, going down to New York together and having kind of school field trips that are organized by the students, which is really nice. It's nice to see that everybody likes to be around each other and spending outside time together. So, again, as a community, not only do we have organized lectures that I have come here and maybe organizations that I'm a part of outside of the school, but the students. I would also like to say that if you're looking to study with us part-time, we don't require an application or a portfolio. Again, I've said it before, I think this type of training should be accessible and available to anybody and everybody. And so, I don't want to limit people by feeling like they think they need a big portfolio to apply here. If you want to take part-time classes with us, all you need to do is sign up. If you're looking for a full-time student or full-time study, I do just recommend an application so that we can have a discussion about, I want to make sure that you're getting what you want to, and that we can offer you what you really need. So usually for the more full-time students, I like to have an application with a portfolio, just so I can kind of get a feel for what you have been doing, what you want to be doing. If anybody has any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box, because I've been getting them. Does ARA teach students how to prepare their canvas and paper? Yes, we do. I've taught many students how to stretch this, and then they've taught other people how to stretch their canvases. There isn't usually like a formal, today we're going to stretch a canvas, but it's more like, hey guys, I'm going to stretch a canvas. Who doesn't know how to stretch a canvas? If you want to come watch, I'll talk about it. So the instructors here are working artists. We are, in our studios often painting. We are trying out new materials. We are, we're developing ourselves as professional artists as well. So while it's not structured into our curriculum, all of those things come along for the ride. So they all come as part of the package. And we often encourage students to ask us, If there are things that, I don't know how to stretch a canvas, how do I stretch a canvas? And then asking one of our instructors, it's like, okay, let's go do it. So toning canvases, stretching canvas, suggestions for toning canvas, how to tone a canvas, how to prepare grounds. I'll get into some of that when we talk about our instructors, because each of them kind of has a different specialty in a way, which is really nice. So Cindy McMillan is our director. She started the school. She went to the New York Academy of Art and also graduated from the Academy of Realist Art Toronto. She started the school in 2009 with like 2 students. And now we've blossomed into a small / medium-sized academy. She is a wonderful human being, and we love her. Nadine is one of our instructors. Nadine came to us as a student, I believe, a couple years ago. She is now teaching she's in the painting program, so she's mastered the drawing program into painting, and she's teaching our Saturday BARG classes and our Monday BARG classes. And she actually comes to us with a mostly abstract painting background. So up in her studio space, she actually has both abstract work going and representational work going. And it'll be interesting to see how the 2 of those are combined eventually. Then we have John. John is our anatomy instructor. So if you take figure with us, an hour of every morning is dedicated to anatomy, and his anatomy lectures and demonstrations are the most entertaining thing you will ever see. So that is an absolute treat, that if you get to take figure with us, that John will be teaching you some anatomy. He also teaches figure on Saturdays and also long pose on Saturdays. Eric Johnson is a main instructor with us, and he is what I would call our materials and technical library. So he is somebody who is extremely passionate about painting. He knows how to make all of his own paints, grinds his own paint. He's even getting into frame restoration and gilding. And if you have a question about anything materials wise, my own research, I just say, hey, Eric, what should I do about this? So he's really great. And he's incredibly passionate about teaching. So if you ever take a workshop with him, it's almost like overwhelming how much information he gives, because he's just so excited about all of it and wants to share it with people. So I highly recommend taking a workshop with Eric. He also just teaches our main program as well. Emmy is our figure instructor here. She is actually a couple years ago won both first and second place in the Art Renewal Salon portrait category, which is amazing. And we're actually also sponsoring the portrait category this year at the Art Salon. She also teaches UMass she teaches at Mass Art, but he also went to ARA Toronto as well with Cindy, and Cindy brought him here. And then there's me, and I'm a painter and instructor and the assistant director here. So those are our instructors. And again, each of our kind of specialties, I think, benefit people in terms of, there's Eric stretches canvas differently than I stretch canvas. So we've shown people both ways, and people can decide what works best for them. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Email for questions. Okay, sorry. If you want to email any questions about any of this stuff, you can go to our website, which is araboston.com. And at the very, very bottom, our email is spelled out. So if you do want to ask questions, please feel free to email the school. I get the email. So that would be good. Okay. Do I ever have art materials companies come and give talks? Yes, we do. Often, actually. We've had Gamblin come in, Michael Harding come in. We've had Trickell come in. We've had a few. I think that's of the main art companies, but we do have, I think, Rembrandt Oils will be coming soon. And we're always open to having different art materials people give talks here. Oh, yes. General Pencil, absolutely. Please come and do a talk here. We love those things. Any special color palette? somebody was asking if there's any special color palette. I guess I have to ask, can you be more specific about that question? Oh, and then also I also wanted to mention Antonio, who is my assistant here at the school, and he has been instrumental for keeping the school running extremely efficiently, and he even built us shelves in the figure room to help hold up the paintings so that we can have them drying while we're not working on them. So I just want a special shout out to Antonio. So yeah, so I guess now what I'm going to do is get into some questions from the internet. So somebody asked me, I think it was Maya Mocha at Maya Mocha. Actually, somebody literally just asked, are there any online opportunities? Right now, we do not have online opportunities. A lot of what we teach is very difficult to critique online. The reason being that whenever you take a picture of something, it changes and compresses it. Whenever you see it on different screens, it changes and compressing it. So for right now, we don't, although with this new situation we're having, we might need to try to adopt to that a little bit. So at the moment, we don't have online opportunities, but I guess stay tuned. I got to do a whole bunch of research. Okay, so questions from the internet. Maya Mocha at Maya Mocha asked, how do you set up at home if you don't have the ideal situation? And what are, so I'm assuming she's asking like if you want to do a still life at home or a portrait at home, what's the ideal setup? So I'm going to try to show you guys what the ideal setup is. And if you don't have the ideal setup, some options you could use. Okay, so the number one thing I would suggest is make sure that whatever you're setting up has a single light source. That's extremely important because it allows you, it's the best learning opportunity for you to understand how light works. A lot of what we're doing here is learning actually physics, the physics of light, form, like all this kind of technical stuff. And if you have like multiple light sources, this is what I'd call like, I guess, the ideal setup for something. Now, I'd also like to take note that we do use artificial light in here. And so what I'm going to show you is like if you have a setup for artificial light. Either way, if you're using natural light or artificial light, you really need a single light source. So you can see here there's two lights here. One of them is dedicated to the cast, and one of them is dedicated to one light on the cast. I'm going to try to get close up here so you can see. So there's only, cancel. There's only one light source on this. And I can tell because if I do this, there's only one shadow. So you can see over here where the cones kind of overlap, there's kind of like two shadows happening. That means there's two light sources. So on your subject, there should only be a single light source. That is super important. Okay, single light source, that's priority number one. What that light source is priority number two. Some people prefer natural light. It's, if you're going to work from natural light, you want a window that faces north. And that's because that's the least changing light throughout the day. However, you can kind of use any window, but you have to make sure you're kind of working at the same few hours a day if it's not a north facing light. And you're also limited to working when the sun is out or there's light outside. So if you're a night owl like I am, that doesn't work for you. I have worked from natural light. There's nice benefits to it. You have softer shadows, you get a full light spectrum. It's, but it is a much cooler light, and you are limited to when you can actually use it. So you have to decide what works best for you, and it's different for everybody. Artificial light, I do recommend that you, if you're going to use artificial light, make sure you find a bulb that has high CRI. So by by CRI, I mean the color rendering index. That's important because you need to make sure that you're not painting under a bulb that isn't showing you the green spectrum. You want the widest available color rendering. So just look up CRI if you're going to look up different light bulbs. And you know, I can give some recommendations for light bulbs if anybody wants them, but just all you have to do is make sure you're looking up CRI bulbs. We tend to use floods here, which are kind of like pointed. They're not like the ambient like bulbs. They're like floods, which is like a direct light. If you're looking to control your lighting setup, so for your lights, like you want to only have that single light source, what do you use to control the lights? So we use, let's say, clamp lights. Basic clamp light from Home Depot. Cheap and easy. Your good CRI, Home Depot's Eco Smart bulb, actually a very good CRI. And I prefer the bright whites, which are not too warm, not too cold. And then to control the light, meaning instead like these things right here, this is cinefoil. Cinefoil is this wonderful stuff that theater people use. It's not flammable, and you can clamp it right to the light. And I use binder clips for that. So that would be my suggestion for, so making sure you have single light source. If you're going to use a light for your easel and a light for the setup, use the same bulb for both. You want to have the same light on both sides. You can use natural light or artificial light. Try to make sure that the light on your easel isn't too bright. If it's too bright, you're going to accidentally make your painting too dark. So just try to get an even amount, insanely bright. If you're setting up for site size, don't stand too close. Always make sure that you're getting back into the same position. With a three-dimensional object, you're seeing different views of things if you're over here or over here. Okay, so if you're, you know, coming back to a single point, which is site size, you have to make sure you're always in the same spot. That's one of the biggest issues that people tend to have, is they're not getting back to the same spot, and then they're trying to draw basically two different views. And then just get some perspective on your art and your life. So, okay, so just step back and kind of take a look at the whole thing. Somebody would say, do you turn off the easel light to check the painting or drawing on the easel? No, because I usually don't have other lights on. I will take a painting in another room to see it in a more ambient light, to see it in a different light, just to see if it's reading the way I want to. Yeah, if I turned off the easel light, it would just be dark on my easel. So if I turned off like that light, I would just only be able to see my setup, and I wouldn't be able to see the painting. Just make sure that it's not too bright on your easel. I did have a situation one time. It was actually in the figure room. I was working at this station that had the light a lot further down, and it was kind of directly right at my canvas, and everything was looking all nice and lovely on my painting. And I took it out into another room, and the face was super dark, and I was so confused. I was like, I know I painted that lighter than that. So I took the painting back in the room, and I realized that the light was just shining so closely and so brightly in the face that on my easel it looked okay, but then everything else was like brighter because it was in a darker area, so I painted it brighter. So basically I needed to re-brighten the head and pull the light back a little bit. So just make sure you don't have the big painting it too dark. By students, or do they use titanium? Good question. We recommend lead. I've only used lead since I started oil painting, which was here. I did acrylics before that. I mostly use lead white. I used titanium once. I do not roast titaniums. at a certain value range actually darken as they dry. And that makes it impossible for perfect mixing and matching, which if I'm trying to fix a small area and I'm matching with the dried paint and I come back the next day and that little patch is darker, that's a problem. And I've had that situation. There's forums all over the place that we've talked about it. We call it voodoo darkening. Nobody can explain it. But I have found that Gamblin's flake white replacement is the only titanium so far that I've experienced, that I've tested. Gamblin's flake white replacement is the only one that doesn't do that. So if my students are going to be using titanium, Gamblin's flake white replacement is a titanium that they've tried to get to act more like lead. It is a titanium. It's the only one that doesn't change over time. So that's, if you're going to use titanium and you're a stickler about matching and being able to get the same color again, I would recommend using Gamblin's flake white replacement. Other than that, we recommend lead for multiple reasons. So I hope that answers your question, Dale. Okay. Somebody also asked, what's the cost of the Academy? You can go onto our website and there's a whole page setup and things to think. Most important things to take note of is single light source, making sure you're always getting back to the same spot, that your easel's always in the same spot. Those are the important things for site size. And just in general, making sure you like step back, or you give yourself space to step back and give yourself perspective about it. So yeah, if you feel free to email if you want me to send you links for the light bulbs that we use. I also like LED panels. If you go on Amazon, there's lots of options for LED panels that have high CRIs. Those simulate a little bit better for somewhat of a natural light feel. You can get up to a 6,000 Kelvin, which is very cold light. So you can somewhat simulate daylight. It's not the same, but you can sort of simulate certain effects. So LED panels to me have been the most ideal way of working. But I do use floods, the same floods that we use here all the time. And I have used natural light, but I don't have north light facing windows. And sometimes I feel like the light's too cold for what I'm looking for. So you just do what is going to work for the setup that you're doing. Let's see. So Nicole asked, if sold out workshops or classes open up, will the site be updated? Often have cancellations. So if you're on the wait list, I email everybody on the wait list saying a spot's open, and the first one that responds gets that spot. Okay, so if you are interested in one of the sold out workshops, put your name on the wait list. There's a good chance that a spot opens up. And then, see, Dale said that, Dale was asking about if that that Dan Graves only wears black or dark colors while in the studio. So there's a reason for that people only wear black or dark in studios. Now, let's see if I can have I'm going to try to do a demonstration really quick. Maybe this will work. Okay, so let's see. All right, so you see how it's like, what's she doing? All right, so this is a very bright red fabric, right? So I'm trying to show how, okay, so if I'm here and then I start to bring this close, you see how this gets all red? So if you're wearing a really bright shirt, including white, like a white sheet of paper. Oh, look at that. Things change. If you get close to the easel, you get far away from the easel. You get close to the easel. That's because this is reflecting light. This is reflecting red light. Okay. So that's partially why. And it's actually super obvious. It's actually super obvious when you see it in a cast. So let's see if I can demonstrate this. Like, okay, so does that make sense? So the reason why Mr. Graves there wears black or dark colors is likely because the light is actually going to be light coming off my shirt is actually going to affect canvas and the setup. So that's likely why. I mean, it's very slimming and it's very flattering. So that's probably not why he's doing it. So I hope that everything we do here at the Academy is back to like super, if you can master the simple basics of paint, oil, and then, but linseed oil or walnut oil, that's all you need. If you can do anything with those things, and that and a little bit of patience. So my favorite medium is just paint. And then paint and then oil if I have to loosen up the paint a little bit. If it's a very, 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 very early layer, I might use some solvent or just a little bit of Gamsol just to tone the canvas. Include all the details. So sometimes they transfer something to a canvas to make a painting. They wanted to know if they should transfer all the details or if they should, or like, because the first layer of paint, usually they like lose all the information anyways. So I think that's actually a really good question for multiple reasons. My answer is no, you should not, just no. You don't need to transfer all the little details, okay? So here's the reason. If you're doing a preliminary drawing, that doesn't mean you don't have, that if you need to do a preliminary drawing and it is very complex and detailed, that's fine. A lot of times I encourage students that if they're working on something that's very complicated, that has a lot of symmetry or is very complex, doing a more detailed drawing can be a great way to just become familiar with what you're drawing. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to transfer all that information when you go to transfer to a canvas, but doing a preliminary drawing is not about having something perfect to transfer. It's about becoming familiar with the information. So if you end up transferring a more simple drawing, it actually allows you to redo some of that drawing in paint. And oftentimes, because you're so familiar with it, it's just like riding a bike. It just comes really naturally. And it won't be that you're just really stuck and stuck to these little tiny details. So I would highly recommend that if you feel a way to get accuracy pretty quickly, you're not dealing with the messiness of paint, and you become familiar with it. But then when you transfer it, maybe transfer it in a slightly more simple way. I think you'll find it's easier. The first pass of paint should always be relatively simple anyways. We're not trying to get into all the details in our first pass. I do have a section on my website, my personal website, juliebcreative.com, that's dedicated to progress photos. And so if you want to go in and take a look at all the progress images, I do different processes for all my paintings. It all depends on what I'm painting, what the purpose is. So you're welcome to go in and just look at all the different stages and see how simple some of those, sometimes they're simple, sometimes they're more complex, but there are some stages that are super simple and like zero detail in them. And actually what I did want to do is share some examples of transfers. So this is a painting I did. It's called Lost and Found, and this was my transfer. Okay, I just needed the box that would fit in, and that's what I transferred. But that's also because I feel really comfortable finding shapes in paint. So this was enough for me to transfer for that painting. I didn't need to get like all the details in this little log thing. I didn't need all the details in the fox. And so also, if you're going to be transferring, so that, these are examples of where I did somewhat of a preliminary drawing. I didn't get into all the crazy details, but it allowed me to figure out my composition and find out major shapes. That was it. So I would say the answer is no, you don't have to transfer all the details. You're going to lose them anyways, like you said. And a lot of times when you're transferring tiny details, you get married to them and you just want to just do a paint by number. It's not paint by number. You're trying to just put big masses on and confirm the drawing of the major stuff. That should be the first layer if you're doing indirect painting. Big shapes, general composition, and get the drawing down. You don't need details in that first pass. Again, you could take my indirect painting class and we'll go over all that. Okay. Also, and I also would like to say that, so I would say if you're transferring a detailed drawing that you've done to get familiar with it, that's going to know how to draw. If you're tracing something, it's not going to actually do you any favors, for the reason that you stated that the first pass of paint, you end up losing everything anyways. And then if you don't really know how to draw or find those shapes again, you're kind of screwed. So tracing is not cheating. I think whatever it takes for people to get the work done that they want to is totally fine. There's no rules. But if you're tracing and you know how to draw, you're in a much better shape than if you're just tracing and you don't want to learn how to draw. Then you might have some limitations. Everybody does their own thing, and I'm not going to say what's right or wrong. And so yeah, I would just recommend, don't transfer all the details. Transfer something maybe a little simplified, and give yourself the flexibility of going simple to complex to make sure that you can not get too complicated too quickly. Okay, so that's my answer for that. I hope that was helpful. Okay, somebody asked, do we encourage students to build our own something? I didn't understand what the word was, but, and then it said, do you help them in terms of exposure? I don't know if I'm assuming that question was about, do we help our students get connections with galleries? Do we help them with, their social media and stuff? So as a school, we do try to help promote students in terms of our social media reach. And we do everything we can. I always encourage our students to, should I submit to this? How do I format my pictures? How do I, do I need a website? The answer is yes, you need a website. But in terms of connections with galleries, I have certain connections with, I deal with a wonderful gallery in Provincetown called Bowerstock, and a few of our students are now showing with them. If they're the right fit for the galleries that we work with, we try, we do what we can. But really, it's usually up to the galleries. But if we think the work would fit, I always love to introduce people to the galleries that I work with. So that's what I would say in terms of that we do help with exposure. Dale is asking, how does ARA require students to do master copies? It's not. Well, yes, kind of, actually. It's more of doing master copies in a way that we have people do a Fortuny master copy. That's a drawing. We have them do a master copy to get a feel for working in a medium with a wider value range. We also do master copies as exercise master copy that is just taken to what we call first painting. We have them do a limited palette master copy of a figure and a full palette master copy of a figure. And a lot of that's because in our figure room, there's not always time to get to a full finish with a full figure. So the homework assignments at least gives them a non-moving figure to be working from and practicing and rehearsing the painting process. So that's how we require people to do master copies. We also have Eric, who's done his wonderful Rembrandt master copy workshop with us and teaching people those methods, which is phenomenal and extremely, extremely popular. I don't know if we have one of those going on, but I think he's doing one at Ryan Brown's Academy coming up this summer. So that would be cool. But we don't, those are the master copies we require. And I guess you could call Boggs kind of like master copies as well. Okay, somebody else on the internet asked, what level of freedom do your students have to explore different approaches and styles? Actually, it depends. I mean, it depends on the student. So in terms of more advanced students, we do allow certain students, depending on their level or their capability, we do allow certain students to explore slightly different approaches, meaning maybe going directly onto the canvas with paint, maybe only doing a simplified preliminary drawing and then transferring that. So in terms of like modifying the process, more advanced students later in the program, depending on if they've shown they could demonstrate the basic mastery of the foundations that we've been teaching earlier in the tool set. So the goal is to do these exercises to learn those tools and to create those tools, and then and oftentimes if students have mastered it, they're allowed to explore tweaking the process a bit. And we usually, we're always open to having conversations about that. So the process is flexible. In terms of style, we don't really do a style. So like, we're not going for impressionism here. Like, we do talk about broken color. We do talk about different approaches of achieving a color. And obviously, like, yes, that looks like that, or no, that does not look like that. So we don't really do style. If you look at, in terms of style, you can look at many people who come out of academies or programs like this, and style becomes each person's individual voice. And how that looks or how it feels is, very unique to that individual. Again, we're just teaching a tool set here, a skill set, and we're teaching how to understand form, physical nature, 3 dimensions, the physics of light, atmosphere, perspective, all the fundamentals. So we don't really cover style. But in terms of flexibility and freedom for process, we are open to that for the right student. So that is all I had for questions from the internet and our open house. What I can do is, if anybody has any other questions, please feel free to put them right in there. If not, I can attempt a venture down to the 2nd floor. So we do have 3 floors. Right now I'm on the 3rd floor near the internet. So that's why I have slightly better internet. But if you have any questions, feel free to add them to the live chat thing right there. Otherwise, I will kind of scoot downstairs and try to show you the figure room and the bar room, where most people spend their first year here. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and somebody asked if we'll upload videos, and I would like to do that. So that's a really good question. I'm going to talk to some people to see how we would go about that. That would be great. Videos that will be on our YouTube channel. If you have suggestions or requests for videos or talks or anything like that, please email me with those suggestions. But other than that, I will try to take you on a physical tour. So again, this is our part-time cast hall. So these are all students who are going to be, only here on Mondays or only here on Tuesdays. Somebody asked, what would you expect from one of your full-time graduates? To be wild and famous, and then bring us all along with them. No, I'm not really sure what you mean by, like, what do we expect from them? We expect them to finish all their assignments. That's a lot of our, right now we have a few graduates, and we're teaching at the school right now. So here, like, you can see where we keep our casts from the Caproni collection. We have a couple in there. So somebody had asked if there's cubbies, and you can see right here, this is where students get to keep their work. I know it's a little dark, it's kind of hard to see, but everybody keeps their work down there. Yeah, well, we're hoping all the graduates become rich and famous, because I'm one of them. I think the question is, would you rather be rich or famous? I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to try to take us downstairs so that we can see the figure room and the bar room. Okay, hopefully I won't lose you. So, okay, so down here So we have, this is where most people with us. So here you can have, this is where we warm our hands by the fire. So again, cubbies and drawers, that's where people get to store their work and their supplies. Again, if you're here for more than 2 classes or more than 1 class with us. So here we have some wonderful examples of cast drawings, master cuttings, some portrait. So here's a good example that Antonio did. It's a little hard to see, but simple, getting more complex. And it's hard to see all around the school. Okay, so here you can see, I'm gonna see if I'm gonna put this up here. This is our figure room. That's a pretty good, there we go. Okay, so here you can see our figure room. So here's the model stand. And then you can see we have a semicircle around the model. It can fit about 14 students here, 14 to 15 students. And our poses actually last about 10 weeks, and that's usually 2 days a week. So that means it's about a 100-hour pose. Our part-time students do get the benefit of a 50-hour pose if they're only here for 1 day a week. So, and then we have our Saturday morning classes, which is a 30-hour pose. It might seem excessively long, but at the end of the semester, people still want more time. So there's a lot you can learn from taking a figure drawing to a full finish like that. So yeah, so that's our figure, and that's our again, demos all over the place. So much information. Do you have a place where your students can make collective or solo shows? Very good question. Maybe. We are trying to have something in the works where that's the case. We do have group shows. Let's see, I'm going to try to put this on the mantle. We do have group shows. We try to have group shows at least once or twice a year. I believe it's the Marblehead Arts Association has invited us as a school to show. So it's going to be a lot of instructors, but also students outside work. We have had a collective show at Bowersock Gallery. Like I said, I'm represented by them, and they were excited to offer the best of our students to show with them for a few weeks last year, and that was wonderfully successful. So we try to give them opportunities. It mostly means that I'm going around trying to make connections with people. So the Marblehead Arts Association will be having a show coming up, I believe, in August. It's going to be a group show. You know, we're always on the lookout for additional places to have a group show. So yes, we do try to have a collective. We used to actually have a space downstairs in this building, but we had to give up that space. So we no longer have like a storefront in a way. Yeah, so that was everything I had to cover for the open house. And I hope everybody's getting a lot of painting done. But if anybody has any other additional questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you don't have additional questions, or if you have additional questions after this, again, please feel free to go on our website and email us and ask any questions. Like I said, all the instructors here have been through the program, and we all understand what it's like to be in the position that you might be in right now. I was at the point at which I felt like almost giving up on art because I didn't think I had the ability to make the work I wanted to. And it was serendipitous for me to stumble on ARA Boston because it really gave me the voice and the vocabulary with which I could actually make the work I wanted to. So I'm extremely passionate about it and about sharing and making this training available to people. So if there's anything we can do to help reach more people. And you have any suggestions, please let us know. But until then, thank you. An in-person thing. So yeah, thank you so much. Stay healthy and get a lot of work done while we're all in our studios or in our apartments, and be nice to each other and stop hoarding things. We all need toilet paper. Yeah. So again, be good to each other. See if anybody needs help. I'm happy to, talk with anybody about art stuff at any time. So please feel free to reach out to me or the school. And I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful week.